Camera gear. Gear doesn't matter, but at a certain point, it actually kinda does. And that's what I've learned again this year. If a certain tool can help make my workflow more efficient, I'm all for it. That's why I want to share with you 5 pieces of gear that have had the biggest impact on my work in 2023. This video is inspired by my good friend Ryan. Let's get into it. It's been a while. One of my most used pieces of gear is my microphone, the Rode PodMic. Over the year, as I've been making more videos for Instagram talking to the camera just like this, I quickly realized I needed a good microphone. And this one sounds pretty good to me, especially after a little bit of post-processing. This certainly fits my voice quite well. Now, I'm sitting in a completely untreated room for audio, and this microphone is great for a scenario like this. Compared to my shotgun microphone on top of my camera, this sounds so much better. Another bonus is that it looks good on camera. I think the design of this is really clean, simple. It looks like a microphone, but it's not really distracting. However, what is distracting in my opinion is the boom arm. Yeah, I definitely have to find another solution for that, maybe a tabletop stand or something, but for now we have to make this work. It's easy to set up the microphone. I have it plugged into my Rode AR1 XLR interface and then going into my MacBook Pro to record the audio, and then I just have to sync the 2 files in post. One thing I've noticed is that the PodMic is a pretty quiet microphone, so you have to either use a cloud lifter or just boost the volume in post, which is not ideal, but for social media, it's fine. Rode did recently come out with a white version of this setup, so I'm excited to try that at some point. Alright, next up is a lens, the Sony 16-35 f2.8 G Master lens. I've been dreaming of one day owning a lens like this for so many years. When I finally got it at the start of the year, that completely changed the game for me. This being a 16-35mm zoom lens, I get a pretty decent range of focal length. We can go from 16mm, which we are at right now, to 35, or we can just zoom out to show the entire space. There are a couple of different versions of this lens available, but I decided to get the 16-35 with the f2.8 aperture. I just use this one lens for 90% of my shots, maybe 95. And having that f2.8 aperture means that I still get some sort of blurry background, and it's also easier to shoot in low light. Something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is that using a wide angle lens for social media, for Instagram Reels, for TikToks for example, from my experience, helps with the performance of a video. I'm not quite sure why that is. I think that people like to see more, especially of the space, when on social media. They want to be right in there and not be an observer from far away. Also, this room, it's not that big, so having a lens with a wider field of view helps to make the room feel bigger than it actually is. As you can expect from a G Master lens, this has a great build quality, great image quality. I also think the form factor of that lens is almost perfect. Now there already is a version 2 available. This is an expensive lens anyway, so I think version 1 is still a good choice. Okay, this next one, it's a big one. I'm talking about the impact light stand with wheels. It's essentially a C-stand on wheels. It's quick to set up, break down, and it can definitely hold a lot of weight. It's also super tall, like it can go right up against my ceiling, which is cool for lights, but also when you have a camera like at a super high angle, it's super important to have a tall light stand for that. You can easily move your lights around without having to like pick them up. You can just wheel them around. They are good wheels. As I already mentioned earlier, I have a limited amount of space available, so those impact light stands having a smaller base compared to regular C-stands helps a lot to keep the footprint as small as possible. It comes at a pretty affordable price, and I honestly just don't have that many negative things to say about it. Maybe the base is not wide enough for those overhead setups, but other than that, it's amazing. I even like it that much that I got a second one, and I'm already thinking about adding even more. My poor bank account. What would be a camera gear video without an actual camera in it? Exactly a month ago, I finally upgraded from my old Sony a7 III to the Sony ZV-E1. And this upgrade has been amazing. I was using the Sony a7 III for well over 3 years. It has always held up super well for everything that I've been using it for. But there are a couple of things that are missing in this camera, given the fact that it is already a couple of years old. As I've been creating more and more video content on a daily basis for social media, I needed a camera that has more focus on the video features instead of photography. And when I found a good discount on Black Friday, I thought to myself, let's just do it. And after those first 30 days with the Sony ZV-E1, I can confidently say that this camera is no joke. Instead of just reading out all of the features, I'm just gonna tell you how it has helped me to make better videos. Now, the biggest game changer by far is the flip out screen. With the Sony a7 III, we have a flip screen, but it's only like going upwards, so it doesn't really help when you have to film yourself. With the ZV-E1, I can turn the display all the way around. It has those red tally lights which tell me that I'm recording, which is good to know. I can finally shoot in SD S-Log3, which is a flat picture profile, allowing me to have more dynamic range in my image. That's only possible because I have 10-bit 4:2 color, and the image finally doesn't just fall apart after grading. The colors in general are much better compared to my A7 III, while the image is not quite as sharp as it's not downsampling from a 6K sensor. The overall quality just looks so much smoother and just looks more professional. We get 120 frames per second in 4K, which is cool for shooting B-roll handheld, for example. I can still use the same batteries and lenses that I was using on my old camera. While some people are complaining about the camera overheating, it hasn't happened for me yet. Let's just hope for the best. This is my first long form video that I'm recording on the ZV-E1, so I'll let you know later. There are a lot of new AI features in there, which I'm not really using. I like the new autofocus, but other than that, yeah, it's a great camera. There's still micro HDMI, which sucks, and it's also missing this front dial for exposure from my A7 III, but that's not a big issue. Oh, and also the form factor is super small, super light. Can't wait to use the camera more in 2024. Last but not least, magic arms and super clamps. This is a small rig magic arm. These come in various different sizes. This one is super cheap actually, like 15 bucks. And you can get it together with a super clamp. I'm using mine right now to hold the monitor up, and you can just clamp different pieces of camera gear to pretty much anything. I can clamp something to my desk, to my light stand, for example. I have a big one mounted up there from an overhead rig, and I'm usually using the small one to hold up smaller video lights. My favorite way of using these is to get creative shots. For example, having a POV shot or a shot where you clamp your camera to a certain object and then move it around and it just stays like connected to the object. Those are super cool, but it always comes in handy to have a couple of these around your studio. They are super quick to adjust, and especially when you get the bigger versions, it's a lot more sturdy than this one. But this already holds up quite some weight. I can easily put my camera on this. You're not going to get the best build quality out there for those cheaper ones, but they still work totally fine. When using the clamp together with the magic arm, you definitely have to pay attention. It automatically loosens and therefore rotates, which is incredibly annoying. But all in all, super useful, and it also makes a great gift for your filmmaker friends. I actually have a bonus piece of gear for you, and that is my folder structure. When you are working on a lot of projects at the same time, it's important to keep track of everything and have a clear folder structure that allows you to find all the files you need for a certain project. Let me show you what has worked well for me. I have created a project folder structure template, which includes a couple of different folders. We have documents, photo, video, and final. There are a couple of subfolders for video. Project files, which can be timelines or just your DaVinci Resolve project file, for example. Footage with subfolders for each camera. Music, sound effects, assets, and exports. This folder structure has been so useful for me. I always know where to find a certain file and where to put my assets that I download for a project. I have made this folder structure available for you to download for free with the link in the description below. Alright, and that was my first YouTube video in a while. The ZV-E1 hasn't overheated. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Hopefully not in 2 years.